Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And I am so energized and excited to make this review video today. Do you sense the hint of sarcasm in that? Okay, here's the thing. So going into 2019 and going into 2018, I said the same thing, that I was going to try to review every book that I read for that year. But it's really, really hard when it's a book that I just don't like or that I really, really struggled with. So, you know, that being said, I'm going to do my best to review, I will say, most of the books that I read for 2019, but I can't promise that I'm going to review them all. I just can't. Especially if they're books that I DNF, I'm just not going to, you know, if I don't finish them, I'm just not going to review them. There's no reason. But today's book review is about Truman Capote's In Cold Blood, which was the book club selection for February for Peter's Book Club, which is listed below if you guys would like to join. We are doing a year of true crime. We're having a blast with it over there. And even though this book was not what I wanted it to be, I'm happy that we chose it. I'm happy that we discussed it. I do think that it's an important book to read in the canon of true crime, which I do believe that there's a canon of true crime out there, you know, and it's interesting because a lot of people are saying that they're just not interested in reading that, but so many people are just coming to the book club and loving that we're doing a year of true crime, you know? And it's an area that I'm very, very fascinated in, and I always have been, but that I haven't, like, specifically read, like, many books on in a row. And so the fact that we're doing a book a month is really fun. And there's going to be some losers in there. There just are, you know? I guess I just didn't expect it from In Cold Blood, because if you don't know the history of In Cold Blood, it was written by Truman Capote. Harper Lee was one of his research assistants who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. They were very, very close, and in fact, Truman Capote in Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird was Dill. So Dill was, she, you know, modeled Dill after Truman Capote in the book. So anyway, they had been childhood friends. So anyway, I was really excited about reading this book. My mother loved this book. I had heard a lot about this book. I thought I had read pieces of it in the past. I thought I had seen a movie, which I'm almost positive I've seen the movie now, the black and white movie. And talking to Mel, who is the one that co-runs the book club, there are, you know, pieces that I was like, oh, yeah, like, you know, like I can remember that from the movie when we were talking about it. So I struggled with this book, but the reason why it's important to the canon of true crime is because it is the very first book of its kind. Supposedly, Truman Capote, like, invented the genre of nonfiction, supposedly, okay? And he would say that in interviews and whatever. So if he invented the whole, you know, area or genre of true crime, or of nonfiction, then he definitely did true crime. And the pros for me in going into this book is, I will say that I thought that the prose, P-R-O, you know, apostrophe S, I thought the prose quality, P-R-O-S-E, was beautifully written. The descriptive qualities of this book, I think the way that he described the town to the people, you know, that almost seemed like characters. It didn't actually seem like real people to some degree, because I think the way, like, you know, even the two murderers, the way that he characterized it, I thought it was beautifully, beautifully written from a point of literature, and I think that, you know, that has been seen in Truman Capote's other work, like Breakfast at Tiffany's and A Christmas Memory and things like that. But I just really, really struggled with the whole way that it was told. Quite frankly, it was one of the most boring books I've ever read in my entire life. I just really, really struggled with this book. So, as did most people in the live stream. I think out of every book that we've ever read in the live stream, or we've ever read and then discussed in the live stream, I've never had so many people that have, like, not finished a book, and that, you know, said that they didn't finish the book in there. And I know that there was at least one person, I think Megan, who actually loved this book. So Megan, you're out there and you're on your own. But anyway, let me read to you. Here's the cover, the one that I got. And then on the back is Truman Capote. And he's standing, I think, in front of the house or something. I don't know. Maybe not. Anyway, it says on here, on November 15th, 1959, in the small town of Holcomb, Kansas, 4 members of the Clutter family were savagely murdered by blasts from a shotgun held a few inches from their faces. There was no apparent motive for the crime, and there were almost no clues. As Truman Capote reconstructs the murder and the investigation that led to the capture, trial, and execution of the killers, he generates both mesmerizing suspense and astonishing empathy. In Cold Blood is a work that transcends its moment, yielding poignant insights into the nature of American violence. And then Life magazine said a masterpiece, a spellbinding work. New York Times said a remarkable, tensely exciting, moving, superbly written true account. And the New York Review of Books said the best documentary account of an American crime ever written. The book chills the blood and exercises the intelligence harrowing. Of course, we don't know when that was written, that comment, right? Because I would say to the New York Review of Books that there are better documentary accounts of American crimes that have been written in the past 10 years. So I don't know. And this book came out, I think it was like 62 maybe. Let's see. It came out in 65. So, you know, I don't know what I missed about this book. You know, like, I did think it was beautifully written, but not beautifully written in a way that it made me want to just, like, devour it, like most books that I read, you know? And I wasn't that interested. I think this is part of one of the things, and this is one of the things that we talked about in the live stream, you know? That if this crime happened today, in 2019, and somebody went and wrote a book about it, I don't know that it would get, you know, such high acclaim as it did back then. I don't know that people would be that interested in it, because to some degree we're a society that is saturated by crime. We're saturated by, you know, small town murders, and we see books about this all over the place. In fact, the next book that we're reading for the book club, we've started it already, is, here, I pulled it up already, A Serial Killer's Daughter, My Story of Faith, Love, and Overcoming, and it's written by Carrie Rawson, and she's the daughter of the BTK killer. And, you know, when we're looking at books, and we're looking at books like this one, which is told from the point of view of the daughter of a killer, or, you know, we read last year, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, you know, one woman's obsession with the Golden State Killer. And it was a lot from the investigator's point of view or the victim's point of view. And Paul Holes, who did an audio exclusive book about that as well, who is the investigator on the case for more than 20 years, you know, like, he told it from his point of view, and the victims actually spoke in there, you know, the families of the victims and some of the victims. You know, and I look at a lot of the true crime that's coming out today, you know, and we're talking about doing a book possibly about Columbine in April, you know, to talk about the victims, you know, to commemorate the victims that were lost in that crime. And, you know, one of the books that we're thinking about reading is Sue Klebold's book, or Klebold book, which is, she was the mother of Dylan Klebold, who was, you know, one of the shooters at Columbine. And when, you know, you start looking at true crime books today, what we see is we see a very personalized account. We see a very humanistic account, you know, from the victim's point of view, or family's point of view of what it was like to live with somebody like that, or what it was like to be, you know, raised around that, like the daughter, or to be the mother of, you know. And I think that's more of what we're seeing, you know, or investigators who have chased this crime. There's a lot of that, you know. The Green River Killer, who is somebody that we're probably going to read a book about this year. There's a lot of books from the, you know, that point of view. We're thinking about reading a book about John Wayne Gacy. I think it's called Killer Clown. And it is from the point of view of the investigator that chased after John Wayne Gacy for many, many years. And I think that's more and more of what we're seeing with true crime. You know, we're not seeing like a Joseph Wambaugh who goes in and just does an overall account of what's happened from like a documentary point of view. We're seeing personalized accounts. And the book that we started reading this year, we started the whole true crime genre with, was Ann Rule's The Stranger Beside Me, which was a bizarre book, but I'm glad we started with that, you know, and it was about Ann Rule's relationship with Ted Bundy, and it was the book that set her on course to do true crime, you know, and then she had this massive career of writing true crime and working with police officers and investigators and, you know, going in, and she did a book about the Green River Killer and many others, you know. And so it's interesting when you look at true crime and how much it's developed from 1965. Many of the serial killers that we know today, you know, the Zodiac Killer and, you know, Ted Bundy and, you know, the Hillside Strangler, they weren't even like this. Those books wouldn't have even been written in 1965 because that hadn't happened yet. So, you know, to some degree, the sociological aspect of crime has changed the way that true crime writing has happened, you know, or has changed. So we're seeing it from a different point of view, and it makes you even wonder, like, down the road, where will it go, you know? And like somebody had suggested, and I don't know the specifics about this crime, but the women that were kept kidnapped, I think in like Pennsylvania or, you know, Ohio, and one of them has a book that has come out, which, you know, I thought would be a very interesting book to read for the book club. And, you know, just, I think, looking at it from a personalized point of view, I think also, you know, when we look at documentaries and we watch, as many of us do, and we're thinking about doing in the book club, watching one documentary a month, a true crime documentary, but, you know, you watch these documentaries and it's like The Staircase and it's all told from like the family's point of view, you know, or you watch Making a Murderer and it's told, you know, like basically from Brendan Dassey, you know, and Stephen, I can't think of his last name. I'm so like obsessed with that series, but why can't I think? Brendan Dassey and Stephen, it's on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, you know, and his attorney, and this whole second series is all about that. And many of these documentaries that we watch, there's a very, very personalized account. You know, even Eileen Wuornos, the serial killer, when you watch, you know, Making of a Serial Killer, you know, those are told from like her attorney's point of views, and you get her personalized account. And we're seeing actual footage of, you know, the documentary maker talking to Eileen Wuornos. Like, that's not, you know, like, although there's pieces of that, you know, and one of the things that did come up was like fictionalized interpretation. Oh, what was the word that was said? Because Mel was the one that came up with this. Creative license, when we're talking about quotations and things like that came directly from these people, and then kind of putting together like dialogue, you know? And I think that true crime has changed a lot. But that being said, would true crime even exist if it weren't for this book, you know? And I think that's where this book is so important, that even though it was boring to me, and even though I wasn't that interested in it, you know, I was more interested in the backstory of, you know, the killers and, you know, all this kind of stuff, and like their upbringing. And, you know, like, I didn't care so much about them like going on the road and whatever, you know, all that kind of, I didn't care about all that kind of stuff. But finding out about the family and all that kind of stuff, that was very, you know, interesting to me, and to some degree, you know, the investigation. But it just didn't have, and I think this is where we have become desensitized as a society, is that it just didn't have that spice element that a lot of the documentaries that we watch today have. You know, where you just can't wait, Stephen Avery, that was his name, where we just can't wait to see what's going to happen next, what happens next, and we want to binge watch a Netflix series because we want to find out what's going to happen. The book didn't have that quality. But that being said, and I think we also knew going into it, you know, what's going to happen. It says on the back of here that it was executed. So it's not that kind of like rush reading that you would get from something else, or that the two murderers were executed. There's actually a couple documentaries on YouTube, if you want to go watch them, that show a lot of the film footage of them, and like pictures of all the gravestones and things like that. It's kind of morbidly interesting to see, but the documentaries are not very well done on YouTube, but they're interesting to see nonetheless. So yeah, for me, I gave it 2 stars. I would probably give it, I think on a literature level, I would give it, I would say like a 90 to a 92%. From a literature point of view. From an enjoyment point of view, I would give it, I don't know, like it was just not enjoyable to me. I would give it a 30%. I just didn't enjoy it whatsoever. And like I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but I do think it's an important book to know, you know, I think in referencing other true crime, because I think the way that it was written and the structure of it has kind of formed an idea of how we look at true crime today as a genre. So anyway, have you read this book? Did you guys participate in the book club this month? Let me know what you think. And yeah, participate with us this month. We're reading, oh, I just pulled it off. We're reading, hold on, I just had it up. A Serial Killer's Daughter, My Story of Faith, Love, and Overcoming by Carrie Rawson. She's the daughter of the BTK killer. So please read it with us and enjoy it. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.